It can be released from a nuclear device detonated at a high altitude, destroying electrical grids for hundreds of miles. The aftermath of such an attack could be devastating. Distribution of food and medicine would be nearly impossible. There would be a shortage of clean water, and first responders would be left with no means of communication. Now, this may sound like something out of an apocalyptic thriller, but this is not fiction. This is a critical national security issue that leaders from both parties take seriously, because they know that rogue nations and terrorist groups dream of a world without the United States.
After 9/11, Congress ordered a series of studies on weapons of mass destruction. In 2004, the EMP Commission delivered a report on the threat of an electromagnetic pulse attack on the United States.
The EMP Commission published 5 reports, 3 were classified and 2 were unclassified. The 2 unclassified were in 2004 and 2008. They laid out a scenario where a very entry-level weapon in the 20 kiloton range was lobbed at not a very high altitude over Cincinnati, Ohio.
Michael Del Rosa is an engineer and Pentagon consultant. He has worked with the EMP Commission, and he has participated in confidential congressional briefings on nuclear threats to America.
And the reason they chose that target is because that weapon, with the radius of line of sight at the altitude, which was a nominal altitude, would have covered 74.5% of all the electric generating capacity in the United States and 83% of the substations in the United States, the majority of the population.
Bill Graham, who was the chair, the one statement he made that I think needs to be remembered is EMP is one of a small number of effects that has existential consequences that could threaten the existence of the United States.
George Baker is Professor Emeritus of Applied Science at James Madison University. He sits on the board of advisors for the Congressional Task Force on National and Homeland Security.
The effects could be so widespread that, in effect, you'd have breakdown of governance. In Bill Graham's testimony, he thought that upwards of 50% of the population would die within the first year.
For the Record has learned that in 1995, a Russian think tank presented a report to the Russian army recommending the military align with rogue nations, sharing both weapons of mass destruction and missile technology.
There was a testimony in 2004 by Soviet flag officers that they rather sheepishly said that technology for super EMP weapons had actually leaked out to North Korea and other rogue nations.
We think enough word of it is leaked out, and it's not a very technically complex idea, that it could well be the case that the North Koreans could pull off something like that.
There's no one that will deny with any credibility that the reason why North Korea and Iran are self-professed emerging nuclear threats to the United States of America is because Russia and China want them to be and have enabled them to be. This is not idle thought. This is what nation states like Iran and North Korea have spent billions of dollars developing this capability. They're doing it for a reason, and they say the reason is the fact that they see the United States as their primary adversary.
On July 9, 1962, the United States conducted a high-altitude nuclear test over the Pacific Ocean. It was called the Starfish Prime Test, and the electrical pulse from the blast was felt 900 miles away in the Hawaiian Islands. The data collected from that event showed the U.S. military the potential damage an EMP can cause, information they have had for more than 50 years.
After the Starfish Prime test, the U.S. government immediately took steps to protect military assets.
The Department of Defense, as they built out the Minuteman system, the ground system and the missiles, included EMP protection in the Minuteman system. It's been 50 years ago.
So we've hardened that capability tremendously, again, at the cost of hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But our civilian grid, upon which 99% of the military's electricity encompass is dependent upon, it's essentially unprotected.
I think that's largely right. I think the only civilian systems that were hardened were the president's airplane and maybe some of his command and control, assuming you want to consider that civilian. But no one was thinking of protecting the civilian infrastructure.
and this is no problem, and therefore we should stop spending all the money to harden against it. Or if it is a problem, then we should harden the grid upon which the military depends for 99% of its electricity needs in this conflict.
Nobody's in charge of the electric grid. You think Department of Energy? No. Department of Energy basically works on nuclear waste and funds nuclear laboratories. There's a small office that deals with electric grids, but nobody that has any real power. This is something that is not being dealt with. It is improvements in it are fought by industry, and it's extremely frustrating because it's very dangerous to let this grid sit there the way it is while the Russians and Chinese have fully and completely protected theirs. Yes. Yes.
What does that say?
Well, it tells you that on this issue, the Russians and Chinese are more responsible than we are.
In 2004, the Congressional EMP Commission estimated that it would take a one-time investment of $2 billion to harden the entire U.S. electrical grid against an EMP.
She just wrapped it up there. We're running out of time here real quick. So let me just try to summarize this thing real for you. You haven't realized that now the first responders are going to have a real challenge here because they're going to have to do their job without communications. That's going to be really difficult, and you're going to have a real hard challenge there because the average home only has about 3 days worth of food in it. And we're talking about no water being pumped, no sewer being pumped, no fuel being pumped. And after about 3 or 4 days, those first responders are going to be faced with the decision, do I go do my job or do I stay here and defend my family? And that's going to be tough for some of them. And so, there is a light at the end of the tunnel here, and I do see it that we're getting there. We know what needs to be done. We know we have got countries that are now doing this with the Chinese, I mentioned, the South Koreans, Arab Emirates. We know the Iranians are manufacturing their own equipment to harden their grid, and Israel is hardening their grid. Our lieutenant governor was over there this summer, and he got a briefing from Israel on what they were doing to harden their grid. And what stands between us and that actually happening? Well, this is my not politically correct chart, but it's the truthful chart. This is what we ran into, or what is standing in the way and the lobbying against us. I call it the unholy alliance between the power companies, ERCOT, and the Public Utility Commission. And I didn't put the power companies on top of that chart by accident. I put it up there because they're actually the ones that are in charge of what ERCOT and the PUC does, because they don't do anything that the power companies don't allow them to do. They give them permission. Employees at ERCOT and the PUC actually come out of the power company, so it's a revolving door where they wander around this circle in here, working in one place and then the other. And they are what dictates it. They're the ones that have stood in the way. They're the ones that stand between it. But I'll tell you, I do believe I see a softening of their stance as what they have depended on is everybody being ignorant about this issue. But now that people are becoming aware of it and are contacting them, letting them know about it, they're starting to warm up a little bit to the idea of actually doing something. We did make a major step forward, actually got a plank in the Republican platform here in Texas calling for hardening of our grid. That's essentially what's in I went down, I was the only legislator that showed up for the Republican platform committee meeting and testified that we needed this in there. I testified this and on a couple others, including election reform. But here's what we need. Now, they're either you're going to be part of the problem or you're going to be part of the solution. And this is where I just get really frank about what needs to happen, because our government is we the people. And this is where we the people have to step in and start doing the job we've been advocating for so many years now. And that is letting the elected officials know what we want. And so You'll make a decision when you leave here tonight. You don't have a choice in that. You will make a decision, either do something or you won't do something. If you don't do anything, you remain part of the problem. If you do something, you'll be part of the solution. But what we need is for people to call and write their elected officials, our lieutenant governor, the PUC, ERCOT, and your power company, urging them to take action to secure our electrical grid. And to help you with that, there's a handout there. There's more. I've got more than enough for everybody that has the email addresses, the physical addresses, and the phone numbers of all these key places that you can call and write. Handwritten note. It doesn't have to be anything long. Just getting a short paragraph from you is all that's really needed. You don't need to explain it to them what it is. They know what it is. And so the one last thing, what's this going to cost us? I don't know what it's really going to cost us. All of the experts that I've talked to said it's only a few dollars per meter is what it'll cost us. It appears to me that it will cost less than what the power companies have squandered on smart meters to do this. But whatever it is, I tell you who's going to pay for it. We are. Because there's no such thing as state money. There's no such thing as federal money. It all comes out of our pocket. It comes out of the same pocket that we're feeding our families out of. So we're going to pay for it one way or the other. And so my best estimate right now, it will probably be done as an allowable rate adjustment. Now, power companies told me one time, they said, we've done surveys and asked people about raising their rates, and they say they don't want their rates raised. Well, duh. I can't imagine, getting any other answer back from people. That was their argument against, that was one of their feeble arguments against it. So, but anyway, I urge you to get your friends and neighbors to make that phone call, to send that email, to send that letter to all of them. Not just one, those people just want it. Send it to all of them. Get involved in this thing. So with that, I'm running way over in time here, but if you have a question or if you want